Good morning, everyone, and happy Monday. Thank you guys so much for joining today's stream today, and we hope you had an amazing Christmas weekend. Heading into this week, this will be the last trading week of 2021. So it's kind of crazy to say, but yeah, I mean, we're all at the end of the year, and I would say probably the biggest thing to watch as of right now, Tom. Of course, we had the SPY trending in an awesome direction, but we have a lot of big news going on with airline stocks right now, and I know they're not looking too good in pre-market, especially after all of the cancellations that happened over the weekend. And then, Tom, you might be muted.
Hey, sorry, but yeah, whenever I'm looking at these airlines, Mike, you are correct. Those cancellations were not good for them at all, and I'll tell you, these airlines had a lot of momentum heading into this unfortunate event that we had happen over the weekend. Unfortunately, they had to have all these cancellations again. They said the new variant obviously played a role in causing people to, obviously miss work and different stuff like that. So obviously there was some issues going on, but we'll have to see how the airlines do. Like you said, they're not doing good at all. Looks like AAL looks terrible today. Going and looking at Delta, looks like they're breaking below those pre-market lows as well. And it's definitely not looking good today. I'm actually curious how much these ones are going to go down because, man, it seems like I think they could go down quite a bit today. I'm not saying that they're going to crash and burn, but I could see Delta falling below 38.
Let's take a look at it. So it's down 3% already. I could see it. Yeah, I agree with you, Tom. I mean, there is support right around 38. It touched off of that on, what was that? Was that Wednesday of last week? So, we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's definitely not looking good so far. Now it's down 2.5%, but it's just the negative momentum is definitely not going to be too good for it. And then also with these airlines, a lot of them have been just rallying to the upside so much last week, and you kind of have to factor in the bad news that we saw at the cancellations, but also just a normal pullback.
Yeah, definitely, because there was, like you mentioned, it was such a good week last week. We have Delta here. They pretty much went from $35.50 at the beginning of the week all the way up to around $40. That was a pretty good, pretty good 5 days there. And I will say, Mike, it looks like here initially at open on the 1 minute chart, we are getting some movement back to the upside, which is good. But hopefully this upwards movement continues today. I was really hoping to see the overall market with the SPY and everything continue up. And it looks like the SPY might go retest all-time highs today. We're actually getting within just a couple of points.
Here we go. All right, Tom. So leading my watch list, we actually have AMD to the upside. So it's up 2% already, and it is just blasting straight from market open. What levels do you have for us? Or are you seeing any opportunities with this one? What are you seeing?
Yeah, I actually posted this one as my free day trade today, and I said if they could break out above 149, I think that AMD could end up exploding. And, we are very, very close to breaking above 149 right now. I think if we're able to break that and then move up through 150, AMD could have a really good day. There's a huge resistance right here, and it looks like AMD is continuing the run from last week. AMD just had a huge explosive move last week, and I'm glad to see it continuing here, Mike. These chip stocks have, they've definitely been under some scrutiny lately since they've been going down a little bit, but it looks like AMD is really recovering back. And with those main levels, like I said, if we're able to break above 149, I could see this one really starting to go.
There we go. And we also have Facebook blasting to the upside. It's up nearly 2% today. It is outperforming every other major tech stock. It's exploding.
Yeah, I wonder if this metaverse news is going to help them at all. I've been seeing a ton of stuff come out about the VR headsets and stuff like that people are using in the metaverse. And I've also been seeing just a lot of hype stuff about it, videos and stuff. So hopefully the metaverse starts to get going a little bit. But it looks like Facebook or Meta, like you said, having a very explosive day, actually leading my watch list by quite a bit. And it looks like Facebook's in a pretty bullish setup here, Mike. They bounced off that $300 support a couple of times, and it kind of looks like a little bit of a W pattern going on here.
There we go. Yeah, I agree with you. And then another thing to check on really quickly is actually Palantir. So Palantir has been one of those companies that in my opinion, has a lot of growth potential, but it has really been struggling over the past couple of months and even over the past year. It was looking pretty awesome like a minute ago, but it's definitely coming back a little bit right now. But I figured I'd point this one out because over like the past week or so, it's definitely been holding its ground and it's been on like a very slight uptrend. But again, it's one of those stocks where when it gets in these trends, like normally normally they're pretty good. So for example, like Palantir might go on like an uptrend for like a month or two, but like it'll be a solid uptrend. And the same thing to the downside. Like it might go on a downtrend for a month or two and it'll hurt. But I just want to point out it's holding its ground and I feel like it's at a pretty good level.
Yeah, I do too, especially on the daily chart. I think it looks really good off the support. Like, obviously there's just a ton of touches, like right around that $17 to $18 area. And it looks like 18 is going to hold up very well here. So I'm really glad to see that. And Mike, we've been talking about Palantir for a long time. And unfortunately, they just kept going down. I really hope that this is finally the uptrend that we've been waiting for. Because if it is, I mean, $18 is going to be an amazing price point to buy it.
Hunter said it's pulling the Palantir Classic. Oh no.
Yeah, it kind of looks like it.
Gosh, yeah. I mean, how about, I want to say on Thursday of last week, it had that awesome run up at open and then it just faded off all day long. That sucked.
Yeah, it did. I was really thinking that day, Mike, we would get up towards 20 or possibly over $20, but it seemed like we hit that resistance again and fell down. I feel like $20 might be a huge area for the next couple of weeks. That's definitely a big resistance there.
Oh wait, Tom, you gotta check in on BABA right now. Like this morning, I was looking at it and it wasn't really doing anything in pre-market, but look at this movement.
This is amazing, Mike. I was with you. I was looking at it in pre-market, and I was a little sad to see that it had gapped down a little bit. But, hey, it's coming right back up. I know that there was that good news with Evergrande over the weekend where they said that they were going to start construction back up. And apparently I don't know if it's the CEO or whoever the owner is of Evergrande pretty much said that, they pretty much said that they're expected to have like almost 40,000 deliveries, I think, or buildings, which is great. So hopefully we see Evergrande get back up there, Mike. I know that they're the most indebted property builder in the world. So hopefully they start to get better. And if they do, I really hope it brings up these China stocks. I mean, man, I can't believe how low BABA is on the daily chart, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right, so I just want to welcome everyone to the stream really quickly. Thank you guys so much for joining, and welcome Sam, Iranical, George, Alex, the other Alex, Hunter, Jay, Matt, I'm Fierce, Power, Vicky, and Mike. Let us know what stocks you were watching, and we'll definitely take a look at them. But Tom, of course we covered some of the biggest movers today, but we also have Tesla kind of blasting to the upside still. Like it's been on a pretty solid uptrend and it just keeps on going.
I'm really glad to see this one continuing. I was really thinking that this upper resistance around 1075 might have been a big level there for it, but I'm really happy to see it continue. Looks like we're about to hit $1,100 with Tesla. Let's go see that daily chart because, man, Tesla's looking pretty explosive, Mike. I'll be honest, like I could see this one coming up and retesting like $1,200 over the next couple of days.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely running, and it's hard to bet against Tesla because, we all know it's a powerhouse and yeah, I mean, it's really coming back. It looks like the market really likes that news with Elon now, how he's basically done selling. So that's good to see. But Tom, like, then again, you have to wonder, like, the stock went from 886 up to nearly 1,100 in, 4 or 5 trading days. Like, part of me wonders, like I feel like we kind of have to see a pullback, at least soon, at least somewhat, Like, it's hard to have that big of a move in 4 days.
Yeah, it really is. I'm with you. I could definitely see a pullback as well. But, like we've seen Tesla do in the past, sometimes it just continues up. So it could continue, but I'm definitely seeing what you're seeing. Usually if you get this explosive of moves straight up like this, it definitely usually has some, at least you would see some consolidation days, maybe not any huge pullbacks, but at least there'd be like maybe some dojis, kind of like what we saw back on like October 26th and 27th, just at least some type of consolidation. And, it might come at the end of the day today, Mike, or, maybe after this early morning run, it might stop and then start to fade off. So we'll have to see, but I would definitely expect that too. And if you guys are going to be trading calls on Tesla, definitely be aware of that because it could honestly pull back anytime with how much it's been going up.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to bet against it, but we'll see what happens. Honestly, I was just eyeing up like a call credit spread or maybe even like a short call or something like that. We'll see. But back to these comments, it looks like we also have some pretty good action with Nvidia, Tom. George mentioned Nvidia breaking $300. So, yeah, it's up 2% today. It's definitely a powerhouse.
Yeah, it is. And $300 is a huge level. Thank you for pointing this one out, George. I could see this one really going. It's kind of like AMD, it's a powerhouse. It's been running a lot, especially today. And it looks pretty good, especially with that break of 300. I think it could definitely continue up for a little while longer. And hopefully we see a big breakout with it. I think it would make for an amazing run.
There we go. And then he also mentioned AMD, which is basically moving the same as Nvidia. And then MU kind of wanted to sell off at open, but seems to be hanging on. So, yeah, you're right there. I mean, MU is definitely kind of lagging behind a lot of the other chip companies, but at least they're holding their ground right now. But then again, they just had that pretty good earnings report, and they're really close to their all-time high.
Yeah, they are. Like, I could see them possibly breaking that all-time high pretty soon, but just be careful. There could definitely be a double top here. And looking at MU, I love the way it broke out above that. It was like in a little bit of a bullish flag setup. I love the way it broke out up above $90. I think that made for an amazing move last week. And MU has been a pretty good stock ever since it hit this low of 65. But Mike, you're right. For a while there, it was really lagging behind. Like while AMD and Nvidia are at all-time highs, MU was really falling down and lagging behind. And even Qualcomm, like we can see QCOM, sorry, I went to the wrong ticker. We can see QCOM has been making new highs as well. So it has definitely been lagging behind a little bit.
Alrighty. We also have what looks like to be Apple breaking out too. So checking them out, they're up 1.1%. And Tom, I don't want to jinx it, but so far it's looking like we have a pretty good chance of a true Santa rally. I know last week was awesome, and a lot of people called it a Santa rally. I guess you can, but like the technical definition of a Santa rally is the final 5 trading days of the year and then the first 2 of the next year. So in this case, it's the final 5 trading days of 2021 and then the first 2 trading days of 2022. And when we have these companies like Apple, Nvidia, AMD, Tesla, and Microsoft blasting to the upside, not only is that going to keep the market up, but it will just make it easier for other stocks to run up too. So I'm liking what we're seeing so far.
Me too. It's honestly looking like a spitting image of last week. Like ever since Monday of last week, we had a very nice move back to the upside, and it made for some great trading last week. Like it wasn't just these bigger stocks like Apple going up either. Like we were seeing Draftkings, Corsair, all the awesome growth stocks were going up as well. Unfortunately, today DraftKings is kind of falling off. Same thing with Corsair. They're just kind of consolidating there. But I'm really glad to see the rest of them going up, and hopefully these growth stocks start to turn back around because, last week it was really good to see them going up, but this week it seems like they are lagging behind at least for right now they are.
Yeah. We'll give them a little bit of time though, but it would be nice if they were trending to the upside. But we do have some of those like growth plays moving. Like you could see like Chewy's trying to break out. It's up like 1.35% today. It's right at resistance right now, around like 60. It's basically double topping from Friday's high.
Yeah, it does look pretty good actually. I will say Chewy looks pretty decent, Mike. Like wasn't this your free day trade actually?
Yes.
Yeah, and if they're able to break out above like $60 and like 15 cents right here again, or pretty much break above 60.18, their high of day today, I could see this one starting to really break out, Mike. And man, it honestly, like we've been waiting for Chewy for a long time. Whenever you look at them on the max daily, it kind of reminds me of a setup kind of like Zoom or Palantir. I'm really hoping to see Zoom start to go back on the uptrend this week as well. I really hope that I just really hope that these growth stocks start to go back, but it is good to see Chewy up. And, another one, Mike, that was doing pretty good earlier was Roblox. They did pull back a little bit more, but I know this stock has had a lot of good metaverse news. And with Facebook or Meta going up, it was nice to see this one kind of following along.
You know it. All right, and then we have Mike saying Disney is pulling back again. I know, I saw that. So, yeah, Disney's down like 1.2% today. There's not any like major news to go with that. So, yeah, I mean, it's just pulling back a little bit right now. It sucks to see, but then again, like over the past couple of weeks, Disney has been doing pretty well, but I'm with you. It'd be nice to see a breakout right above 155. It kind of double topped off of that area on Friday. So, it's not like Disney's crashing. It's only down 1% today, but I'm definitely with you, Mike. And hopefully we retest that resistance right around 155.
Yeah, you can see how close we got to that and then had that big push to the downside. We need to break that resistance, I think, to finally get some good movement with Disney. But Mike, I feel like, though, that if we are able to finally break out above 155, I think Disney has a pretty straight shot up towards like 160 to 165. Like, I think that'll make for a really good trade if we're able to break out through that. So I would honestly throw this on the radar, guys. Like, if Disney's able to break out, I think it would make for a great trade. And it might not happen today. It might happen, Tuesday or Wednesday. But either way, it's going to be a pretty good breakout when it does happen.
Yep, we shall see. Hunter said Santa's getting smooched on the forehead if we get a good Santa rally. Yeah, it's looking good so far. But yeah, good stuff there. Then we have George saying Lucid on recent support. Let's take a look. Lucid, yeah, so it's down 4%. It's lingering right at that $35 level. Honestly, this one has been not the best lately, obviously. I would say like a month ago, this one had so much momentum. It had a lot of hype with it as well, but now it's just like it's kind of fading off. So yeah, I mean, it is really close to that support. Maybe if it holds its ground pretty well, maybe we get it for like a quick dip buy or something. But yeah, it's not looking too bad.
Yeah, it's not looking bad if you're going to buy it off support. Just realize, it's not a good day today for these growth stocks. Unfortunately, a lot of them are down. If we see that continue, Lucid might break the support. So definitely watch it, though. If it ends up getting a good bounce, I think it could be a good buy. Mike, I actually remember talking about this one the other week. People were asking, someone had asked a question if it was like a dead cat bounce or if we saw a good play to the downside. And it looks like we saw a little bit of like a bearish like wedge pattern going on here. You can kind of see how we finally fell out of this. And once we kind of fell out of this pattern here, you can see that this stock has just been slowly fading off. So hopefully we can get back up above that $40 resistance. I think that would be the main level to look at. If we could get back up above 40, this one I think could go back on the uptrend possibly.
Here we go. All right, and then we have Iranical saying Facebook couldn't break $344 again. So it's still up a good amount, but yeah, it did struggle right around 345, you can say. The high so far today was $344.70. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely struggling around there. Volume's pretty good though today, and it is one of the top stocks in my watch list. So it definitely has a lot of momentum. Of course, they're a solid company, but I don't know. I guess we'll just keep them on our radar for like a potential breakout later in the day.
Yeah, and I think it might do it later. This actually had a pretty good move today, Mike. Like you said, it's definitely one of the leaders on my watch list. And, of course it's pulling back right now, but it's still up pretty significantly. And like, let's say we end up holding 342 or we stay up above 340. I could definitely see this one possibly going on another run up later on.
There we go. And then Tom, so while we have a lot of like tech stocks, especially that are rising, I want to point out the precious metals, so gold and silver. They've definitely been taking a beating over the past couple of months, but they're not exploding up today, but they are holding their ground. And in pre-market, they were definitely struggling. Gold isn't really doing too much, but I would say, silver is doing pretty well, like especially today, but it's just nice to see like both of them like holding their ground, especially recently. Like we have silver up 0.5% today. I know it's not a ton, but a 0.5% move is pretty decent on silver. And some of these weekly options, well, actually the weekly options aren't even up that much. Some of them they're basically flat, but the main point is that it's good to see them like trending up overall.
Yeah, it is. I'm really glad to see silver and the metals doing good today. I think that's a pretty good sign, actually. And whenever I'm looking at it, it's just like, especially gold and silver, I feel like that those stock or not stocks, but I feel like that the metals are just due to go up, Mike, especially like with inflation and everything being so rampant. I feel like that people are eventually going to start putting their money more and more into these metals, especially with these stocks at all-time highs. Like eventually I feel like people are going to start taking profits and starting to at least hedge some of their positions in some ways. And I feel like gold and silver are going to be some of the better hedges for the market if we do start to see a pullback. And I'm not saying that that we're necessarily going to see a huge one or anything like that, but in the end, gold's always a pretty good longer term investment. And it's not a huge thing that goes up, year after year generally, but sometimes, you can get some pretty good runs out of it, especially like back whenever COVID happened. Man, gold was flying. Like the price of gold went from like 1,600 all the way up to like 2,100 within just a few months, honestly.
Yeah, that was crazy. All right, and then we have Square saying finance AFRM, UPST, and PayPal. So yeah, he's looking at the finance industry. How is I know we've been watching AFRM a little bit, and they had those huge deals with like Amazon and I want to say Target, I think. I can't be, I'm not 100% sure, but either way, like they pulled back a ton, Tom, and it's not at a bad level. Like, think about it this way. Just like a month ago, this stock was at 176. Now it's at 104 or 105. So this one's actually not bad.
Yeah, it's not. And, it's right around kind of like its IPO price as well. It looks like it's holding up on that support level that it came onto the market at. So that shows, I think, that support might be pretty good. So hopefully it starts to go back. I think it's a great price point. If you like this sector, I think Affirm right now is at an awesome level to buy. Same thing with UPST and PayPal. I think that all three of them are honestly in great positions right now, at least on the charts with their pricing. Now, keep in mind, like PayPal, their fundamentals haven't been the best the past few months. Their EPS is still pretty good. And of course, their revenue might be decent, but obviously they've had some bad outlooks and stuff like that. So hopefully the sentiment turns around. And I think that these stocks, like I said, are just at great price points for the long term, Mike, especially for shares. I even think they look pretty good for leaps, honestly. The IV might be a little crazy on AFRM, but at least in PayPal's case, I think that, some leaps look pretty decent, but obviously I think I'd rather go with shares.
Yeah. How about UPST? Like, I remember when this one was running up, we'd look at it like every day and it would just be green, and it's like almost the exact opposite now. Like, it's like been red so much over like the past, I would say like 2 months. So it's pretty crazy. I keep saying like I'm thinking about scooping up shares of this one, and I still am. I might just like sell like a put, and if I get assigned shares, then so be it. But I'm really like considering it. I feel like it's at a good level, but I don't know. Like, it's really on my watch list. It's right around that 150 support. So I don't know. What do you think?
It's pretty crazy how volatile these stocks are, honestly. Like, I can't believe like how much they've been going up and down, to be honest. I think it's a little bit risky, but I think it's pretty safe, especially selling the put. That's obviously going to be really safe. Like, if you're looking at like, I don't know what kind of strike you're looking at, but if you look at like the 130 strike, like right down there around that support, that's going to be huge, I think. And like you said, just collect that premium. And then if not, then you do end up getting the shares. But I feel like that it'll still be a pretty good way to go. And who knows, maybe you could just start rolling it out then, even if you don't want the shares.
True. Like, the premiums are actually pretty good. So, you mentioned how the stocks are so volatile right now, and it's 100% true. Like, over the past couple of months, UPST went from 401 down to 155. But here's the thing. Like, if you sold the 130 strike put for January 2022, so that's only 25 days away, you would get paid like $530. So it's like the premiums are pretty good on this. It's just like, you have to be willing, like if this thing goes down to like 100 or whatever, like you have to be willing to hold it at that level. So, there's definitely some give and take with it, but the premiums are definitely not bad.
Yeah, they're not. And I think as long as you could have that mental, like enough mental capacity to hold that through a good drop, like we just have to realize that it's really volatile and it's been going down a lot. So like Mike said, if it does end up going down, let's say to 100, or let's just say even to 75 to make it even crazier, if that does happen, just keep in mind that, it can go right back up. This stock went from 150 to 400 in just a few months. So just realize it's a volatile stock. If it does end up going down on you, hopefully you like it for the long term, because it might be one you just have to end up holding for a few months.
Yep. All right. So let's see. Then we have Matt saying, any opinion on ABT? Broward County is sold out of at-home test kits. So I've heard a lot about this company. I don't really follow them like too much day by day though. They have a really good history, and their EPS is pretty good, or their earnings are pretty good. Their dividends pretty good. But like I said, I don't really like follow them too much day to day. They are at all-time highs right now, which is good to see. It's not necessarily a play for me right now, but I feel like if you grab shares, it should be fine for the long term. But like I said, it's not really a great setup, in my opinion, for a short-term play.
Yeah, for the shorter term, I don't really like it too much either. It is at all-time highs, which is great. I mean, if it does keep continuing up and you see it like break above the high of day today, maybe it could be good for like some quick intraday plays or something like that. But honestly, I don't like it too much. I've been hearing a lot about people talking about these at-home tests and everything like that being out, and they're trying to find stocks to make plays on with it. But just keep in mind that while the at-home tests are gone, that might not necessarily translate into like this stock price necessarily like flying up or anything. Now it has been doing pretty good, so I don't know what to think about it, Mike. I try not to play too much COVID plays like that, because so much stuff can happen. Like, obviously maybe they'll announce some supply chain issues and then the stock will come down, like we never know. Maybe they're obviously, the demand is very high for the product, but in the end though, that might not necessarily cause the explosion everybody wants. And one other thing is that while it is at all-time highs, keep in mind we might see a pullback soon. Like generally, whenever this stock has went up significantly like this, it generally started to pull back pretty soon. So I don't know, maybe we'll hit a resistance fairly soon.
We shall see. And then we have Kenny saying December 31st expiration SPY 475 strike calls. Thoughts on it? So he said the 475 strike calls for December 30th. Oh, so that's this week. Well, the problem is they're $2 out of the money, which isn't, it's not horrible, but it's that expiration. It's like you only have 4 trading days left of time. The probabilities on Thinkorswim are saying that there's only a 62, or no, there's, hold on, let me change it. Give me 1 second. So Thinkorswim is saying there's only a 37.9% chance of the 475 strike calls for this week expiring in the money. Now that does not mean, let's say just a 38% chance of winning. That's just the probability of them expiring in the money. So if you're going to pay $182 for this call, you would need, your true odds of winning would be around like 28% or so. So it's just like, it's not really a great play if I'm being honest with you. And I would say the biggest thing is that expiration.
Yeah, I would say that's a pretty close expiration. Obviously I think that could be a good expiration if you're just going to play this super quickly today. Like maybe if you see SPY break out above 475 and make a new all-time high today, maybe you're trying to play something quick with that. I think it could work. But if you're going to hold this one overnight, I would really look at either getting more time or maybe even just looking at a stock that will go up if the SPY goes up, like generally maybe something like Apple or Microsoft, or maybe SPXL even, something like that. I think that might be a little bit better than the SPY. But just keep in mind, like Mike said, you are $2 out of the money. It can be good for something really fast, but if you're going to hold it, like Mike said, those chances are really, really low, even that it just expires in the money. And keep in mind, if it's really volatile between there, it might expire in the money and you still lose.
Yeah, true that. All right. Let's see. I just had something on my watch list. I just clicked off of it. We'll come back to it. But we have Hunter saying Peloton down 4% post-Christmas. So this is not good. It's just slowly dying off. That IV is still pretty high. And Oh gosh, this this sucks, Tom. Like it's just like slowly fading off, and even some of these other like COVID plays are holding up better, like Zoom and even Teledoc. But yeah, Peloton's really been struggling.
Yeah, it has. This is a really unfortunate move. And I started looking at the rest of my watch list to find some more growth stocks. And man, I know Hunter's going to be upset about this one, Mike. Look at what else is down today.
Oh, AMC 5%. I was actually
Man,
just
this
gonna
is
bring up
not good.
AMC and GME. So yeah, they're definitely bleeding.
Yeah, it's not good to see. I did not expect to see something this bad today. I mean, I've been expecting some bad moves, but you can see almost on GME's daily chart here, we came up, we actually just had a bit of a dead cat bounce actually is what we just had. We came up, touched this 162 resistance and got totally rejected right there. Came right back to the downside. Same setup was on AMC I saw. We came up, got rejected right on that $33 resistance right there. It was definitely not a good setup. And man, it was just a unfortunate thing that we weren't able to break up through $33. And man, I don't know how low this one's going to go now. We might go down and retest $20 again this week.
Yeah, it's not looking good, and I know we already said this a couple times, but the lower like AMC and GameStop go, the less likely it is to short squeeze because the lower they go, the better position that these funds are in. You know, like let's just say like there are many ways hedge funds can hedge their positions and protect themselves, but a very simple and easy to understand way is like let's say a fund had, I don't know, however many thousands of shares short on GameStop or AMC or whatever. Now that the stock is low and implied volatility is low, if they wanted to hedge themselves, they can just buy a ton of call options with time. So that way, if the stock ever were to rise, they would just exercise their call options and that would be it. They would never have to like buy back their shares on the open market. So it's like that's just one of the many ways hedge funds can easily protect themselves. But unfortunately, GameStop and AMC have been struggling quite a bit, and it's just been like slowly fading off. And I would say what really sucks is I'll check Wall Street Bets every couple days or so, and especially like the mentions tab. And honestly, like a lot of times I don't even see like AMC or GameStop even on like the Wall Street Bets like trending websites.
Yeah, I haven't really too much either. Honestly, like the bigger stocks like Tesla have been up at the top. SPY has always been in those searches as well. And honestly, Mike, I've been seeing a lot of people on like Wall Street Bets talking about a lot of the cryptos, like ADA and then all these other like Doge, obviously, and there's a whole ton of them. But man, it in the end, it seems like a lot of people are focusing on the crypto market too, and it's just taking so much attention away from these two stocks. Whenever if they really want that to squeeze, they all need to focus on one. So it's just it's kind of unfortunate to see how it played out. And like you said, as these stocks go down, it just makes the sentiment worse. Like obviously, there's lots of people who have been losing a lot of money on these stocks lately, especially on AMC as it goes down. As the retail traders start to get out of these positions, it's causing a massive sell-off. I think it's just a really unfortunate thing to see, but hopefully AMC holds up. There is a support around $25. Maybe we'll hold up there this week, or maybe we'll hold up above that $20 support. But in the end, I don't see it doing too much anymore. It's just a really bad situation with the sentiment going away, and then obviously the hype and everything is just almost gone with it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. So back to the market overall. So we had the SPY just blasting to the upside, Tom. We're at 473.71. It's exploding. We're very close to the all-time high of $474.86. So we're about like $1.40 away or so. So we're really close to the all-time high. But then we also have the VIX just slowly creeping up there. Like normally on a day like today, you would see the VIX like getting destroyed, but that is not the case. Like if we look at VXX, it's up 0.2%. It's not a lot, but it's just interesting. It's just interesting to see that. And even like the VIX index is up 4.5%. So this just goes to show that like the options premiums are being bid up. Most likely this is some put options or some insurance being bought up. So I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. And the SPY's kind of like triple topping up there. Obviously the SPY is doing very well today, but it's not breaking out yet. Like once we break out above 475, I think it'll be great. But man, I mean, obviously we still have a pretty good chance, I think, to maybe hit this resistance and possibly fall back down. Maybe that's what people are betting on with the VIX. I have no idea. The VXX is kind of around that $20 support. And like you mentioned, the VIX itself was also bouncing around that $18 support. So I don't know, maybe it's just support on the VIX, but either way, I mean, that's pretty crazy to see these up like this, Mike. Sometimes I know in the past that whenever we've looked at this and we've seen this exact situation before, sometimes the market takes a bit of a dip the next couple of days. So hopefully that's not the case here.
True. Then we have Ironical saying thoughts on Fubo for a put. FUBO. So this one's okay. Honestly, like, if I were to play this, I would short the put, to be honest. Like, just really far out of the money. Because it's at, like, $17 now. Like, you can go out to like the 11 strike for January 21st of 2022. You could pick up probably around, like, $10 or so. And the margin requirement on this might only be, like, $200 or $300. Maybe less, maybe a little bit more, but it's a decent return for like 25 days. I feel like if you wanted to play Fubo to the downside, like the ideal time was definitely like a while ago. Like, because right now it's kind of like bouncing off support. You know what I mean? So I just feel like it's not a great setup for buying puts on it.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And I feel like that this support might hold up. Like we're seeing a ton of stocks at support. It's not just Fubo. We're seeing like Draftkings, CRSR, Lucid, like tons of stocks are just at support right now. And if they all start going up, Fubo will probably be one that follows along. I know this one has been a pretty hyped up growth stock. They're like a sports streaming service. I don't see puts on them either. But in the end, though, they haven't been doing good. But at the same time, they're right around support, like Mike said. That's going to be my main reason. Maybe if they fall below support, it'll be a good time to get in. I thought puts were a pretty good opportunity whenever they were like double topping up here around $33 or $34. Maybe that would have been a good entry time. But right now, I just don't think it's a good time for puts. Maybe like Mike said, you could short a put here, maybe like at like the $15 strike, and that would honestly be pretty good there, right on support. And maybe you get some shares for the longer term too, if you, if you're comfortable with the company.
Like, of course, Fubo can continue to fall. Anything can happen, but I just feel like, is it a great opportunity? And I really don't think it's a great opportunity. Like, let's say you were going to put like $150 in the Fubo puts, maybe less, maybe more, but I feel like you're better off just buying shares of like Palantir or something right now. Like Palantir is up 1.5% today. It's at a pretty good level, and even though you might not get that 100% return like you might with Fubo if it were to drop, like if you just hold on to this like for maybe a couple years, like Palantir shares, like I think it should be pretty good. So long story short, like I just feel like Fubo is not an amazing setup, and I would encourage you to find something that is like a great setup, whether that's Palantir shares or something else, because it's better to, it's better to trade less and trade like only high quality or really good setups.
Yeah, and I think that honestly, like shares on Fubo might not be bad. I don't know if you're shorting, if you want puts on them because you don't like them or what, but I feel like Fubo is setting up a pretty decently. It honestly looks just like Palantir setup. They're both kind of bouncing on that same exact support level from back on, what was that, May 11th? That was actually Palantir Day back on May 11th. I remember that. Yeah, and you can see they're both like bouncing right around those levels, and which is awesome. And hopefully they both start to go up. I think that I think if Palantir rises, I think Fubo has a pretty good chance to start going up too. And same thing with the rest of the growth stocks. But I just feel like that's so much smarter than trying to play the puts. And maybe you could get some puts on something else. Like I feel like there might be a better setup to the downside. Like maybe if we go look at like maybe something like super high, Mike. Like isn't like Enphase like pretty high up there?
Kind of pulled
well, they've
back.
been dipping down a lot lately too. It's just everything's been dipping lately. So I guess I see where you're coming from, but it's just I would honestly want to get it get puts like on the stock whenever it's up here rather than getting it down here around the supports is all I'm trying to say.
Yep, we get you. There we go. Then we have Alex saying, what do you think of Apple shares at these levels? So Apple is at it's very close to the all-time high. There's a saying that time in the market is better than timing the market. So it's like, it's hard to go wrong with buying Apple shares. And like over the long term, you're better off just buying and holding rather than trying to time it. So it's like, if you want to follow that can be good. But like even if you had like a small starter position and the stock fell, you can always just buy the dip with it. So of course, like it's very close to the all-time high, so it's not like a perfect A+ time to buy. But then again, like a lot of people lost a lot of money, like just an opportunity cost by not buying Apple continuously. So there's give and take with it, but it's hard to go wrong with them.
Yeah, and generally, like I'm looking at Apple over the past couple years, and generally, like even if they go on a downtrend, like a pretty bad one, like they had here, where they fell pretty much from 140 all the way down to like 105 or $100, you can see they honestly recovered right back up over the next couple of months. So they generally are able to recover pretty quickly, which I really like about Apple too, and I think they'll be pretty good for shares for the long term. I don't like necessarily buying it this high, but at the same time, though, like Mike said, I mean, you're probably going to end up missing out. Like with how good Apple's done, I wouldn't be surprised if they broke this all-time high again and honestly kept going up, especially if the overall market keeps on going up too.
Yeah. Alrighty. So I'm just doing a quick scan, Tom, and it looks like we're seeing some pretty good action out of Roblox. So it's up like 3%. It had an awesome November, but the December was terrible for it, and it's trying to come back up and break out.
Yeah, I really hope it does, to be honest. I know this one had a lot of hype, and especially with that metaverse news, like as soon as the metaverse was announced, this stock had earnings like just a few days later, and then it straight up exploded. Like I could not believe how much Roblox was up on that metaverse news. But in the end, I mean, it looks pretty good here, Mike. And if it starts to break out, I'm definitely keeping it on the radar because it's been a huge runner. Now, the IV is a slightly high, obviously, so the calls are going to be a little tough to play, but as long as you're doing quicker intraday plays, I think it'll be pretty good.
Awesome. And then we have Square. We have Square saying, you guys think with all the good news with Pfizer, it can make the same move upwards like Moderna. So Pfizer has actually been leading Moderna by quite a bit over like the past couple of months. So I'm not sure if you're like referencing like today, but Moderna's up like 0.04% and Pfizer's up 0.6%. So Pfizer's definitely leading the way. They also had that like approval with their COVID pill, which is huge. And like especially with like Omicron and everything, Pfizer has really been the winner of like the vaccine stocks. So yeah, I mean, Pfizer's just really the powerhouse powerhouse right now.
Yeah, they are. I mean, they've been really killing it. You can even see on their chart like how well Pfizer's been doing. If we go look at Moderna, you can see they were doing very well for a while, but they obviously fell off a little bit. Pfizer came out with that news with that pill, and it really shot them to the upside here. The rumor for the pill was great. I know that they just approved it, but I will say though, while I do think that they are both doing pretty decent today, I will say Pfizer is pretty high, Mike, and I don't know about you, but I could possibly see a pullback pretty soon. I know that the news with the pill has been amazing, but I don't know how you're feeling about Pfizer, but I feel like it is pretty high, and I know that it has definitely been pricing in that pill on the way up because there was some pretty good rumors about that pill at the same time. So I just don't know what to think about this one. Like I like it, but I just don't think I would play it right here.
I feel like Pfizer's a no play right now for two reasons. The first one being kind of like what you said, Tom, is it is so high. It went from 42 up to basically 62 in like 2 months. That is a huge increase for a company like Pfizer. It's not like we're talking about like Tesla or, Palantir or Chewy or anything like that. Like Pfizer, like it takes a lot to move this stock. It's like historically a very slow moving value stock. So like one, it's pretty overextended, but then two, it's running off of really good COVID news, and it's really hard to bet against that. So it's like there's two major conflicting points where it's like you don't want to, like, it's not great to buy it right now, whether it be calls or shares, because like we're like pretty deep in this uptrend. But then at the same time, it's like you probably don't want to short it either when we have all this great COVID news coming out for Pfizer every day. So it's like, it's just like it's a no play for me.
Yeah, same thing for me. That's exactly how I wanted to say it. So awesome wording there, and I think it's a like we said, we like the stock. It's just a no play right now is all. And maybe Moderna could be a play if they get some good news. Like maybe if they develop a pill or something, I think it could be good. And honestly, if Moderna starts bouncing off this support and we see it go up to the upside, like maybe later in the week, I think it could be a good play for calls as long as the setup's there.
Yep. All right. Then we have Alex saying, any strong resistance levels to watch for Facebook and AMD today? So, Tom, Facebook and AMD, what levels do you have for us for resistance?
It looks like on the daily chart here, Facebook is right on resistance. Let's see on the 90-day, 15-minute. It looks like we're actually right at that 345 resistance. I know we talked about this a little bit earlier in the live stream, but man, we are right on this resistance. If we're able to break this today, I think we could see a pretty good continuation and possibly up towards like 350 or even a little bit higher up to that next resistance. I'm definitely seeing another resistance up there around like 353 to 354.
Sounds good. And then what do you have for AMD?
AMD, this one's been a powerhouse as well. This one's actually breaking out. I know we talked about this one earlier on, Mike, and it was like right at resistance. Looks like we finally broke out above like 149. We're actually all the way up through 150 now. I'm honestly seeing another resistance kind of like right around 152.50. And honestly, we're not too far away from that. So I feel like we could end up hitting that in a little while. And I'll tell you, 152.50 was a huge resistance a few weeks ago.
There we go. And then we have W asking about Draftkings. So Draftkings is kind of struggling today. It's down like basically 4%. I love it for the long term. For the short term, it was on a decent uptrend, and it technically still is, like over the past 5 trading days. But today is definitely pretty bad. It's down like 4%, but some other growth companies are as well. So yeah, I mean, it's right at that $28 support. Another pretty big support is right around $27.50. It bounced off of it has bounced off of $27.50 a couple times lately. So that's pretty big. In terms of resistance, watch out for like $30 and like $30.71. But yeah, I mean, it's great for the long term in my opinion, but for the short term, these growth stocks are like, in my opinion, getting out of this major downtrend and in the very early stages of an uptrend.
Yeah, and they're going to probably like do this type of movement quite a bit like DraftKings is, coming down and like retesting supports and stuff. That's probably going to happen a few times over the next few weeks. So hopefully, we start to see that breakout pretty soon. But, until we get up above like with DraftKings, until we get up through like $32 or $33, I don't think we'll see too big of like huge moves. We might have some pretty good days like we did last week, but I'm not seeing any like huge like 5% days or anything. But once we do finally break out of some of these levels though, and once this downtrend finally goes away, like you said, we've been in this downtrend now for a long time. So it's probably going to take a little while at least before we just start to fly back up.
There we go. And then Jerry said he's buying Moderna calls here. There we go. And then Tom, we had Alex asking about resistance on Facebook and AMD, and we have Vicky asking for support on Facebook and AMD. So what do you have for us?
Yeah, Facebook, we definitely got that resistance there right around 345, like we just talked about. I feel like if we break that, it could be pretty good. As far as support, I would say intraday today, there's a pretty big support down here right around 337. I feel like we broke out above that in pre-market today and had some pretty good moves. So I would definitely look at 337 and then 340 as the two main supports, at least intraday.
All right, and then what do you have for AMD?
AMD, big resistance there around 152.50. That's going to be huge, like I had said earlier. As far as support, I feel like where we broke out at this morning, right up above like 148.50. So I think 148.50 will end up being a pretty good support, while the main resistance here is going to be 152.50.
Sounds good. So Good stuff there. Tom, do you have any last minute plays, anything for the rest of the day?
I did want to bring up Bitcoin really quick. I have to bring it up here on the screen, but Bitcoin has been making some pretty good moves up over the past few days, Mike, and it's not looking bad. I will say I just wanted to highlight it really quickly. We've been getting some pretty big moves to the downside with Bitcoin, and we're actually about to break up above $52,000, which has been a pretty big resistance for Bitcoin, especially the past couple months. If we're able to break out above 52K, I think Bitcoin could make a pretty good move, Mike. And what were some of these mining stocks that we're like exploding with Bitcoin? I know it was a whole bunch of these different companies that like to fly up with Bitcoin. Obviously, we have BITO with the main ETF, but I wanted to see some of these mining companies. I just could not remember the tickers.
Mara and Riot.
Yeah, Mara and Riot were the main two. I feel like these two could get some pretty good moves, especially if Bitcoin starts to break 42K. I would definitely throw these ones on the radar. And, these stocks were very hyped up while Bitcoin was running. So if Bitcoin starts to go on another move or makes another move, Mara and Riot, I feel like could be some pretty good ones to play. But in the end, I think Bitcoin's setting up good itself. Like, I think even this could be a good play even if you just wanted to get Bitcoin alone.
Yeah, for sure. And then we have Mike saying, thoughts on starting a position in NEO. So I would say if you want to be a NEO, now's probably the time. I want to say last year or towards the beginning of this year, it was just flying up and it was at like $67, and now you have the opportunity to grab it for like $30. So I would say that's pretty big. And if you're getting shares, I think that's a really good idea. But yeah, I feel like it's at a pretty good level, especially for shares. Of course, it does have its own unique pros and cons, like every stock does. But again, they're in a very fast-growing and explosive industry.
Yeah, they are. Their industry has been huge. They've also taken a bit of an extra hit lately with all this bad China news. I know some of the other EVs have went down a little bit also, but man, NIO had some. Unfortunately, they are a China play, which is not, obviously not the best scenario, but I really like them for the long term. And if I was going to get shares, this would definitely be a good time to buy, in my opinion.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining today's stream. We had a great time, and it's definitely awesome to see the market exploding to the upside to start this week. I know it's had a great week last week, but it's awesome to see this type of movement, and hopefully we see a continuation of this so we could have a great Santa rally. So thank you guys so much for joining, and have an amazing rest of your day.